So we're told that the rounded to the nearest 10,000, the population of San Pepe is 140,000, which means that the population is going to be greater than 135,000 and less than 145,000. Because when it's 143,250, you're rounding it to the 10,000. So that would go to 140,000. If it was 147,000, then it would go to 150,000, and that's why that's the limit. Similarly, they tell us about the Maple Beach is 80,000, so that means it's going to be between 75,000 and 85,000. And then the question is, what's the combined population? So if I were to write their sum, that's going to fall between 210,000 and then 230,000. So that's the sum, which is what we need, that their combined population is what's the value to the nearest 10,000. So I'll start with statement 1. The exact population figures are each within the 2% of the rounded figures. So the rounded figure is 140,000. 2% would be 2,800. So the actual population of San Pepe is going to be between 142,800, and then we subtract that 2,800 from 140,000, which would be 137,200. Is that right? Yep. And then same thing we can do for the Maple Beach. 2% of 80,000 would be 1,600. So it's between 81,600 and then subtracting 1,600 from 80,000. So that would be 78,400. So you'll see from statement 1, we have a constraint on the total population. So if I add these numbers, so it's going to be 224,400, and here it would be 006, 111, so 215,600. Now, all of these values here, you'll see that this number 215, if the population was 215,000, let's say 601, rounded to the nearest 10,000, this will go to 220,000. This one also, when rounded to the nearest 10,000, will also go to 220,000. So all of these values in that, within that plus or minus 2% range, they will all be 220,000, the sum of those two. So statement 1 alone is sufficient. Now we're going to do the same thing for statement 2. The approximate population figure for San Pepe was rounded up. Rounded up. So let me actually write that down again. The constraint that we started with, that this is between 135,000 and 145,000. So this was rounded up, meaning the figure of 140,000 was the result of rounding it up, which means that it has to be between 135,000 and 140,000. And for Maple Beach, it was rounded down. And again, let me just write down the result that we had from earlier, was between 75,000 and 85,000. Because it was rounded down, it has to be on this half, which means Maple Beach has to be between 80 and 85,000, which means their sum, which is what I'm really interested in, is between 225,000 and 215,000. And you'll see all these values that are between here, when you're rounding it to 10,000, will always go to 220,000. So again, we'll have a unique value no matter what the sum of the population is as long as it's between these two values. So statement 2 alone is also sufficient, and the answer is D.